Yo, what's the word? What's the word? Plausible Deniability Show. Back again like we left some. What's good? What's happening? How y'all doing? Hopefully everything all good with y'all out there, whatever platform you listening, you watching on YouTube, Spotify, Patreon, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of that. Shout out to you. Much love. I just want to say, first of all, if you're a new viewer, I appreciate you checking me out. Hopefully you stick around to the end of the episode. We cover a variety of topics from hip hop, urban culture, to all the way to historical, theological, educational information, all type of stuff, pop culture, all of that. Things that affect us directly and indirectly. I don't know, definitely oh yeah. Fine. Before I forget, if you checking back again from a previous episode, my YouTube subscribers, man, shout out to y'all. I'm trying to get my numbers up, trying to make this thing work. I mentioned before in previous episodes, my background is kind of in making music, and I got, I did that for a fair amount of time, maybe a little bit under 2 decades, something like that. So it's like, man, I got kind of good at creating and releasing rap music, right? Underground, of course. But man, the podcast thing, I can't say that it necessarily comes naturally to me. The subject matter for sure, but I don't know, just the whole podcast infrastructure and everything about it. This isn't necessarily my cup of tea, so I appreciate everybody out there bearing with me. But yeah, this episode we definitely gonna jump into some more current events, some things going on around the world, around the internet. A little bit of comedy, a little bit of pattern recognition like we spoke on in the previous episode. Definitely check out whatever platform you watching this on. Check out the community tab. In the near future we're gonna be putting out some information on the next in-depth detailed video, kind of similar to the first few videos that we put out on the page earlier this year. But yeah, definitely going forward we got a lot more of those coming. I got some fire topics that I'm working on. If it's anything specific you want to hear researched and a video made on it, definitely hit me up in the comments wherever you watching that. So yeah, we gonna jump right in. Alright, so boom. First things first, I came across this movie trailer the other day. Fly Me to the Moon, right? Sony Pictures, Apple original. This movie before, I'm gonna probably skip through a little bit of this trailer real quick. Well, I take that back. So my ultimate point, this movie here, what is it that they're trying to convey to you? Like we all understand these big movie production companies, right? They have so much money in their budget to bring people out, put these movies together. They want your ticket money. They want you to pay for snacks, the concession stand when you go out to the theater. If you're not going to go out to the theater, they want you to stream the movie. Some of these people may even still be pressing up physical copies of some of these movies. I just want you, when you think about all the infrastructure behind like these Hollywood blockbuster movies, stuff like Oppenheimer is another recent one that kind of comes to mind. I just want you to kind of think about what they're trying to convey to you, with these movies, and what's kind of the overall mood of the movie, and if any of that is kind of supposed to rub off on you as a person. And really with all media that we take in, me doing music for so long, you know, I could be completely 100% transparent and say that the music that I listen to, aside from me being an artist, right, the music that I would listen to, some of the other underground artists that I would meet, it was influential to an extent, right? And again, not necessarily on the music, but just the slang. I took pride in being able to kind of travel to different areas and meet, kind of different dudes from different walks of life that we respected each other's musical talent, our creative ability, that type of thing. But we all had, you know, whatever various street elements that we all had going on, and whatever you had going on that made the music visibly credible to those who know what to look for. You know, if you know, you know, as the kids say. Making music is easy for me as I look back now, being about a year or so removed from what I had done for so long. It's easy for me to kind of look at it and see all the different parts of my life that were influenced. Even I can honestly say still all the way till now. It's super hard for me. I go to the gym almost every day. You know what I mean? It's super hard for me not to listen to music at the gym. It's like so ingrained in me. I don't know. So again, I say all of that to say the things that are put out to us, the things that we take in, there is typically some sort of some sort of position to be taken. It's usually done for a reason. There's some sort of angle that the people that make these things have in mind when they make it, and they get you to spend your money on it. Furthermore, they get you to spend your attention on it, your hard-earned money, but your valuable time and attention, right? So let's take a look at this trailer real quick and see what this movie's looking like.
Public support for the moon mission is rock bottom.
Every day, something is breaking.
And we're dead. Again.
Yeah, or blowing up.
The space program is a bloated mess.
NASA needs a marketing specialist, and you are the very best.
Excuse me? What are you doing here?
I tracked you down because I felt we had a connection.
What?
I'm joking. I work here now to sell the moon.
NASA's not something that you sell with a jingle and a slogan.
When I'm done, those men are going to be bigger than the Beatles.
Who is that?
For me, this is very personal.
He's got my name.
You told me that your guys don't do interviews, so I had to hire new guys.
I'm here for the casting.
Who's he?
You're a juicy part.
60 missions in Korea.
I flew 52 missions in Korea.
I flew 52 missions in Korea. How's that?
What?
All right, fam. What do we just watch right here? So what I'm gathering so far, this seems like some sort of play on real life events, right? But it's obviously fictional, right? Because it's the main character that we're seeing promoted here is somebody memorable, somebody that you would know. I think most people watching something like this, right? Your boy Magic Mike. Like, come on now. We gotta, it's only fitting that a movie like this would come out at a time like now. Your boy Magic Mike, Channing Tatum, right? Playing possibly a NASA astronaut. And obviously they have the love story angle, you know, that they start off with. But so the NASA program is not working, and we bring in scabs. I don't know what's the angle of this movie. We bring in replacements. Now it's a marketing thing. It's less about engineering, ingenuity, that type of thing. We're going to the moon. We got the official regalia. You know what I mean? So right here, what we looking at says Bill Nelson, professional idiot in charge of NASA, thinks the far side of the moon is dark, implying that's why we're not going there for that reason. In case you're wondering why we're not back on the moon yet. And I thought this was super interesting. So I'm gonna play this clip and then we gonna do a little bit more further breakdown.
And we're trying to get at what's the Chinese are doing, you think, on the backside of the moon. Do you have any insights in that?
They are going to have a lander on the far side of the moon, which is the side that's always in dark.
The honorable.
We're not planning to go there.
And why not? And what's the benefit of doing so?
We don't know what's on the backside of the moon, so that would be something that they would discover. But our decision is that it's more profitable for us to go to the south pole of the moon because we think that's where the water is.
Why do you think they made that decision? I'm curious.
I have no idea.
Fam, All right, man. All right, so let's break this down. The Honorable Bill Nelson, this cat. All right, boom. So Bill Nelson, Clarence William Nelson. So first things first, you feel me? You see the name games. And this is one of the things we talk about when we speak on the pattern recognition, right? The name games, the shortened names, the abbreviated names, changing dudes' names to Dick instead of Richard, that type of thing. You know what I mean? I'm kind of the opinion that these are games, linguistic games that are played, right? I say that because, again, these are kind of different typical patterns you tend to see with your favorite celebrities, politicians, attorneys as well. You know what I mean? These are tactics, these are techniques that are used typically by people in power. Things like name changes. Calling yourself Bill, but your name's Clarence and your middle name's William. Clarence William Nelson II says he is an American politician and attorney serving as the administrator of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Boom, NASA. All right, so he's the administrator. If we go back to the Believers and Deceivers episode, you know what I mean? There's certain things you peep out. You start to notice a lot of things that, you know, I find myself constantly asking people. First of all, like the kids say, make it make sense. And second of all, you know, what are the odds? What are the odds of so many similarities of people in power? But yeah, moving along. All right, man, so our boy Clarence, because he said some really interesting stuff in this little 44-second clip. I want to check this out one more time.
What the Chinese are doing, you think, on the backside of the moon? Do you have any insights in that?
They are going to have a lander on the far side of the moon, which is the side that's always in dark.
So what's the enemy country up to? You have any insights on that? And he immediately responds, he knows what they're up to. They're doing something that sounds like he's about to say we're not even capable of doing. Almost.
We're not planning to go there.
And why not? And what's the benefit of doing so?
We don't know what's on the backside of the moon, so that would be something that they would discover. Our decision is that it's more profitable for us to go to the South Pole of the moon.
So we're not going. It's dark over there. We're not going where it's dark at. Again, make it make sense moment, right? All the satellites that we have out there, everything that we have, International Space Station, right? Satellites, everything that we have able to, just all the imaging capabilities that they explain to us. I've asked people for so long, what's going on with all the space junk? And somebody explained to me in a logical fashion, how are we able to constantly do all these rocket launches and things that are supposedly leaving the atmosphere? And how do those things dodge all the space junk that I was taught about as a 90s baby? Never really get a solid answer. It's always kind of a lot of word salad, you know what I mean? Miss Harris kind of talk. So again, when you go back to this guy and he's telling us, you know, well, we're not going to go to the dark side because it's scary over there. But yeah, I don't know, man. This is kind of
what's the benefit of doing so?
We don't know what's on the backside of the moon, so that would be something that they would discover. But our decision is that it's more profitable for us to go to the South Pole of the moon because we think that's where the water is.
Why do you think
we think that's where the water is?
Made that decision? I'm curious.
I have no idea.
And then when they ask for detail, I have no idea.
Stop the cap.
You know, something similar to that, not to jump too far off track, but somebody else pointed out on this app, and I wish I can go back and find it. But it was just something to the effect, the whole Cat Williams Club, Shay Shay, all the exposure that's going on right now, you know. And it's funny how you hear people, you know, so-called in the club, right? I'm doing my famous air quotes. You hear about people like this. Guys with a nice shirt, as me and my friends would say. You know what I mean? Because it's never a bum. It's never a dude with a tattered shirt, holes in the shirt, crooked tie. You know what I mean? It's always a guy in a nice shirt, got a nice crooked smile, right? That's a trustworthy gentleman right there. So again, when we do our research, you know what I mean, and we peep the patterns of what's going on, you know, I don't know. I see kind of a similar pattern with the way that this dude move, and a lot of like your red pill manosphere celebrity guys, that they're the ones that come out and tell you they're exposing this and they know so much about that. Even cats in the comedy world are quick to tell you, hey, I'm gonna tell you a secret, but I'm gonna do it on this major platform where anybody can watch it at. And it's always funny how the secret they never fully go into detail, right? They tell you they did this and they did that, but they never actually get around to telling you who they is. Imagine your significant other doing that, telling you about these different situations that they've had with different people, situationships, you know what I mean, entanglements, you know, but never actually want to get into the specific detail. They always keep pushing it off. I don't want to talk about it. I don't know. Soon as you get to asking about specific details, that's when I don't know. It's odd. It's odd behavior. And again, that's maybe a nice use of this podcast, just to be able to look a little bit further into things. Because, I mean, NASA gets a lot of funding, right? We could do a quick search on something like that, right? In 2023, NASA's budget was 25.4 Bs. Big Bs. Coming from taxpayer money, right? Taxpayer funded entity, right? Government entity, taxpayer funded. Government prints money via Federal Reserve, still funds government entities through taxes. Another make it make sense moment, right? So NASA, headed by our boy Bill Nelson. Let's take a look and see what NASA does with those almost 25.5 Bs. And now I bring this up again. This is a teachable moment, as this is something that a couple years ago I kind of did myself, because I said an entity as big as NASA, they have to have like high level imagery, right? And I'm not talking about that CGI stuff, because that's the type of stuff that people that are conspiracy theorists, that's the type of stuff that they get hung up on. All the images on NASA are CGI, you know, and where's the raw images of all the things that we say are out there and what's going on with other space junk and that type of thing, right? And I mean, you can let me know down in the comments, you know, what generation are you from? What were you taught? What do you remember, you know, learning in school as a kid? If you were a male, that's usually something that's kind of pushed on you as a kid. You know, you can be an astronaut. You could be an astronaut. You could go to space one day. And, you know, for some kids, that's something that's like completely off the wall, right? But for other kids, that's something that they really take that to heart and strive towards it. And even if you don't actually end up making it into that field, you know, that's something that you use as like lifelong motivation, right? But again, if that motivation is coming from possible deceivers, does it make you feel any different? And I don't know, that's a question that for you to personally answer, you know, deep down inside. I remember the way that I was taught, you know, there's space junk, space debris, broken down ships and satellites and what have you, asteroids, all kind of stuff that's uncontrollable, you know, complete randomness to space, to the vacuum of space, right next to the atmosphere of Earth, right? And so, you know, I was taught that that's something that it's not like the movies. It's almost impossible to navigate, right? Even just the slightest, the smallest shard of glass floating around in the vacuum of space and causing a collision with the spacecraft, you know, it could be like catastrophic damage. It could possibly unalive a whole space crew, right? So space junk has always been something that has been like super interesting to me. And this is like going back way pre-internet days. So I don't know, it's just funny. You type certain things into Google, you know, and kind of the answers that get spit back out at you. And you want to be able to do a deeper dive. And some things used to be available and now it's kind of harder to get to that information. And I don't know. So maybe we just get it from the horse's mouth, you know? All right. So boom, space debris. This is something that, again, I remember learning well, maybe not a whole lot, but I remember hearing this is like nonstop fun fact material for elementary, middle school students in the U.S., right? Where I was living, Midwest, right? They tell you got to learn all of this algebra and all of these other things because you're going to need that. And then at the same time, they're teaching us things like this almost as much as those type of things. And information that, I mean, I don't know, maybe they were right because it's seeming to be necessary information. So first thing that we see popping up right here says, what is space debris? Also known as space junk, space pollution, space waste, space trash, or cosmic debris, refers to defunct human-made objects in space, primarily in Earth orbit, that no longer serve as a useful function. Now, right here, I'm going to also throw in that, you know, my memory of being taught space debris, space junk is it can be anything. It can be, you know, little bits of rock, asteroid, things like that. Like, you know, this whole thing where we're at and everything we're doing and all the cells in your body and how perfectly everything works together is from a big bang, right? A whole bunch of gases and junk in space, right? So all of that type of stuff that was able to make such a perfect world that we still to this day, 2024, we haven't found a replica with life on it yet, allegedly. You got all of that floating around, plus the human-made objects in space, primarily in orbit around Earth, right? Types of debris, old spacecraft, mission-related debris generated during a mission, such as rocket bodies, satellite components, other fragments. So we have satellite components floating around, all around orbit around the planet, right? Okay, cool. Fragmentation, debris, yeah, breaking up of derelict rockets or whatever. So what's the impact? It says risk to astronauts. Astronauts are at risk during spacewalks and in the International Space Station due to threat of collisions with space debris. Okay, that's good to know. Damage to satellites. Space debris can cause damage to operational satellites, leading to loss of functionality and potential collisions. Well, I mean, that's really bad because we need those for internet, phone calls, GPS, that type of thing, right? Orbital congestion. The accumulation of space debris increases the risk of collisions and makes it more challenging to launch new satellites. I would assume it also makes it more challenging to launch pretty much anything, right? Estimated 200,000 pieces, approximately, of space debris between 1 and 10 centimeters. So I guess that's the size of each of the pieces. United States Space Surveillance Network tracks over 15,000 pieces of space debris larger than 10 centimeters. Then there's millions of even smaller pieces. That's weird. What about the bigger pieces? It says active debris removal. Technologies are being developed to actively remove space debris from orbit, such as the ADRAS-J mission, which aims to capture and deorbit a large piece of space junk. Just one piece? Passive removal. Some satellites are designed to deorbit themselves at the end of their lifespan. Yeah, okay, cool. Space debris is a growing concern in space exploration, posing risks to astronauts, satellites, and the environment. Reddit scientists call for a global cleanup. So this is recent. 2023, 2022, they're still saying it's a big problem. A growing problem, even bigger problem, right? So my next question is ultimately, just show me some pictures for myself, right? Show me what the space debris looks like up there. It's got to be super dangerous. I was taught all of this weird stuff about it as a kid. I can't see it with the naked eye. Like all the different tricks that the light plays. We look at, now you see the thing that they're talking about that the moon is doing recently, the Earth shine, all of that stuff that's going on. No space debris that you're able to see with the naked eye. None of those 200,000 pieces that's like, 4 centimeters or 10 centimeters, whatever it was that we're talking about. Semantic games is being played, right? So my point is, show me some images of the space debris, the space junk, and let me come to my own conclusion, right? I'm not going to bother with the AI generated answer. I kind of just want to see the pictures. But I want to see real pictures. I don't really want to see the Adobe stock photos, right? I don't want to see the CGI. I want to see, boom, real space debris pictures. Because most of the pictures that I'm used to seeing of space look very similar to this guy right here, with no space debris visible. And the funny thing is, that's usually what I see when I look up and out with my own two eyes. So the odd thing is, the only thing I have to go on when I start looking into space debris is what I've heard with my ears and computer generated images. Let's see it up close. European Space Agency. Now, this is one thing that I've noticed getting on these space agency websites. They don't necessarily make it easy for you to be able to find pictures and videos that you're looking for. You got to kind of know up front what you're looking for to begin with. Which I don't know. I think it's just kind of funny in the day and age where it's like YouTube, TikTok, all of this other stuff. You can kind of quickly get to audio-visual topics that you're very interested in. You know what I mean? And it's not a whole lot of guess and check work that you got to put in. I mean, just showing me the picture would be nice. Are you all seeing what this says at the bottom? Note, artist's impression, size of debris exaggerated as compared to the Earth. Debris objects, mostly debris in low Earth orbit, LEO, view over the equator. ESA, European Space Agency. I just want someone to make it make sense to me. How much junk is up there? softball size or larger, and it's being tracked. Where are the pictures of it? Let's see it. Why is it every time I try to look this up, it's computer generated? And I want you to ask yourself this. Tiny flecks of paint orbiting Earth at 25 miles per hour. They could damage any satellite they hit, including the International Space Station, right? So apparently India is having no problem navigating all the other space debris that we can't even see in these images right here, right? Now, fam, I just feel like we got to use our brains. We have to think deeply. It's almost like playing chess and not realizing you're playing chess, thinking that you're playing checkers, right? And your opponent has so many different ways to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish, and to kind of think that you're on a checkerboard where you only have maybe one or two moves at any given time, it puts us in a bad spot. So again, that's why the pattern recognition is so important. That's why it's important to recognize danger before it creeps up on you, just like I was saying in the last episode. So let's do a little bit more looking. Let's look at NASA.gov, see what they got to show us. We're going to do a little bit of research. We're going to check out NASA.gov the same way that we looked at the European Space Agency website. And you can make of that what you choose. You know, you're more than welcome to go to any of these sites that we look at here and come to your own conclusions. That's kind of basically the point of what we're doing here for this episode. We're going to get a little bit deeper into this, though, and some further connections in a minute. But for the moment, I just want to do a brief look at what NASA.gov has to show us, right? Of course, this is a taxpayer-funded organization, you know, so annually they're getting a gang of money from probably you and everybody around you, right? So I'm sure they have some very convincing imagery and video for us that will I'm sure it'll surely prove whatever it is that they want to get us to believe, right? So NASA.gov, let's check it out. So they giving you, you know, their little fun facts, little main news stories up top, right? Building on NASA's 60 years of exploration in space, yeah. Of course, we have the AAPI 19-minute read down here, 5-minute read, how NASA tracked the most intense solar storm in decades. Have some little African babies right here. So ultimately, the point that I want to make here and what I want to show you is that each of the images that they show you of outer space, I want you to notice how all the pictures and videos that we see, and we're only going to look at a couple of them here in this episode. We'll probably do another further deep dive, a full episode in the NASA in the near future. But for the moment, I just want you to kind of look at the pictures and videos they have here and take into account, you know, how pretty, how mesmerizing they are, right? But I want you to keep in mind, every one of these pictures and videos has been touched up digitally, for lack of a better term, right? They've all been edited. So in the same way, you know, the women that you're speaking to, women or men that you're speaking to on these different dating apps, I would say a solid 40 to 50% of the images that you come across on those dating apps, 40 to 50% of all the images have been altered in some way just to make them more appealing. when we go back to episode 6, that believers and deceivers episode, right? That's kind of really the basis of what that whole episode was about, kind of being able to see through filters and different layers that people use, whether that's digitally photoshopping different things about themselves or, you know, in real life. So in this instance, we're looking at NASA and we want to be able to see, I just want to see some raw images of some unedited, untouched up images. They should be, if space is as amazing as they've told me it is, since a child, I expect to be dazzled. I expect to be dazzled by the pictures and the videos. You shouldn't have to do all of the touching up and all of the extra stuff. And the same thing with showing me pictures of the Earth. The things that I've kind of been through and seen in my life, I can accept how great life is, right? I'm appreciative of that fact. I'm cool with kind of having things in life that are able to put life in perspective, so to speak. I don't know if that makes sense. Let me know down in the comments if y'all following me. But so, yeah, seeing pictures of space and that type of thing, it's not like too spectacular to me where I feel like I have to be, like, I don't have to be coddled. I don't have to be baby. You can show me the real thing. Show me what you guys really see up there. Show me the space debris, the space junk, right? That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for unedited pictures. I think at this point, 2024, it's kind of an excuse. Don't give me an excuse that you don't have cameras powerful enough to take a photo of a main object along with the space debris around it. They can show you pictures supposedly of the rings, allegedly, right, of the rings around Saturn. But again, space debris around the planet, their argument, I believe, is that something with how the sunlight reflects off of it, it'll distort the picture. So we have to edit that out in the pictures that we show you, the pictures of Earth, right? So I don't know, maybe that makes sense to you all. Let's take a look, man. Again, you look at these detailed photos, exoplanets, right? You got exoplanets and stars, like wow. Black holes, galaxies. I believe what NASA is trying to convey to us is that they know what these celestial bodies are, how they're made, how they're formed, pretty much everything about them. So boom, let NASA tell it. It says exoplanets, right? An exoplanet is any planet beyond our solar system. Most orbit other stars, but free-floating exoplanets called rogue planets are untethered to any star. We've confirmed more than 5,200 out of the billions of exoplanets that we believe exist. It's NASA.gov. This is their explanation of what an exoplanet is. Most of the exoplanets discovered so far are in a relatively small region of our galaxy, the Milky Way. Small meaning within thousands of light years of our solar system. 1 light year equals 5.88 trillion miles or 9.46 trillion kilometers. Cool math. Even the closest known exoplanet to Earth, Proxima Centauri b, is still about 4 light years away. We know there are more exoplanets than stars in the galaxy. We know that. You may not have known that, but NASA knows that. By measuring exoplanet sizes, diameters, and masses, weights, we can see compositions ranging from rocky, like Earth and Venus, to gas-rich, like Jupiter and Saturn. Some planets may be dominated by water or ice, while others are dominated by iron or carbon. We've identified lava worlds covered in molten seas, puffy planets, the density of styrofoam, and dense cores of planets still orbiting their stars.
Stop it. Get some help.
Cool story. Now, again, I want you to take into account what they just taught us up here. We just learned something new, and they've confirmed more than 5,200 of these things that they just taught us about, right? So they have to have some great pictures of them, right? Do you see the first thing that pops up when I click on this? This random picture, and again, this is a bit anecdotal, so take this with a grain of salt. Artist concept of so-called exoplanet HR 8799b, a release date April 1st, 2009. This is an artistic illustration of the giant planet HR 8799b. Cool. The planet was first discovered in 2007 at the Gemini North Observatory. The planet is young and hot. At a temperature of 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. It is slightly larger than Jupiter and may be at least 7 times more massive. Cool story. Artist concept. The picture here, right? And it's a cool looking picture. I'll give them that. Flaring red dwarf star. Illustration. This illustration shows a red dwarf star orbited by a hypothetical exoplanet. This image shows 10 clear to cloudy hot Jupiters. This image shows an artist's impression of the 10 hot Jupiter exoplanets. Pretty cool. I never knew, like, maybe, I don't know, there's probably a sector of people who go to art school or graphic design school would be maybe a more direct route just to get a job at NASA. But I kind of never knew that that was a career path that you could take. Kepler Planet 1649c, artist illustration from space. So I think you guys, you all get the idea of the pictures of exoplanets on nasa.gov, right? So let's look at something else that they got to show us. Boom, stars. Star basics. Astronomers estimate that the universe could contain up to 1 septillion stars. That's a 1 followed by 24 zeros. Cool. So we starting off with a fun fact. These are the type of things that like science bros like to do, right? They hit you with a fun fact and mesmerize you. Something that ultimately it doesn't have anything to do with, I guess, what we're about to look into. But astronomers estimate that the universe could contain up to 1 septillion stars. Our Milky Way alone contains more than 100 billion, including our most well-studied star, the sun. So everything you know about the sun, what I'm taking from this attention grabber in this essay right here, in this article, what I'm taking from this is whatever you know about the sun, there's 1 septillion more of those things out there, which according to the folks that put all of this together, I mean, maybe there's another you on another planet in another galaxy around one of these well-studied celestial bodies, right? It says stars are giant balls of hot gas, mostly hydrogen, with some helium and small amounts of other elements. Every star has its own life cycle, ranging from a few million to trillions of years, and its properties change as it ages. Stars form in large clouds of gas and dust called molecular clouds. Molecular clouds range from 1,000 to 10 million times the mass of the sun and can span as much as hundreds of light years. Molecular clouds are cold, which causes gas to clump, creating high-density pockets. Some of these clumps can collide with each other or collect more matter, strengthening their gravitational force as their mass grows. Now, I wonder, are you all following along with this? Does this track with you all? Do you all believe this type of thing? Let me know down in the comments, because this kind of sounds like a similar explanation to like the Big Bang theory, right? The theory of the beginning of where you and I currently reside. So let's go on. The birth of a star. It says, eventually, gravity causes some of these clumps to collapse. When this happens, friction causes the material to heat up, which eventually leads to the development of a protostar, a baby star. Batches of stars that have recently formed from molecular clouds are often called stellar clusters, and molecular clouds full of stellar clusters are called stellar nurseries. Cute. We've all seen pictures like this before, right? Says the edge of a nearby stellar nursery called NGC 3324, found at the northwest corner of the Carina Nebula. Says it forms the mountains and valleys spanning this image captured by the James Webb Telescope. And you got to understand, they're calling it an image right here, captured by the James Webb Telescope, but you got to understand that this is a digital rendering. This is obviously not a raw picture, right? And it's pretty. Don't get me wrong. We're not disputing that at all. How pretty the pictures on this website are. I guess what's in dispute by some people is if any of these are actual images that were edited and built up upon, or are all the images and videos that we've seen so far on this website, are these things simply just completely computer generated? Some people believe that. The Helix Nebula, imaged here, lies 650 light years away in the constellation Aquarius, also known as NGC 7293. It is a typical example of planetary nebulae. Cool. You have to ask yourself, are these real images? this is obviously an AI answer, right? And we may just look at a Google response after this, but this is information from around the internet that the AI is giving you. It says, does an astronomer intentionally manipulate or alter an astronomical image? It says astronomers have created fake images to achieve various goals. Makes sense. That makes perfect sense, right? Not to say is that good or bad, but that makes sense right there. Astronomers have created fake images to achieve various goals, including training algorithms. Now, I'm going to argue this is a bit of a reach. You don't necessarily need to make fake things, I don't believe, to train the high-tech computers that we have available these days. But this is one of the arguments they're giving you. Also, testing public awareness. Did you know that astronomers have created fake images to achieve various goals, like testing your awareness and showcasing their creative skills? Did you know that? Here are some examples. Etienne Klein, a French scientist, a French scientist shared a photo of a distant star on Twitter, claiming it was taken by the James Webb Telescope. However, it was actually a slice of chorizo. Now remember this. I wonder if any of you all, and please let me know down in the comments, let me know if you all remember when this happened. I remember this kind of went viral on social media, then I remember it kind of disappeared out of nowhere. I don't necessarily remember this part. It says he did this to remind social media users to be cautious of fake news. How nice of him. This is another point that the AI gave us. It says NASA created a mosaic of 225 images, with 224 of them being fake, created by AI. The only real image is a genuine interstellar phenomenon taken by the Hubble Space Telescope. That's what this thing is right here. Next, it says astronomers have also created fake images to test public awareness and critical thinking. Did you know astronomers did stuff like that? Are doing things like that? Scientists, astronomers. Did you know that? For instance, they might combine a real image of a landmark like the pyramids of Giza. And they're saying a landmark like that. So a real image, they might combine a real image of a landmark, something that may be noticeable, but it may not be noticeable to you. Astronomers have also created fake images to test public awareness and critical thinking. For instance, they may combine a real image of a landmark like the pyramids of Giza with an astronomical nightscape and a distant galaxy, making it difficult to distinguish fact from fiction. Some astronomers have even created fake images. Some astronomers. How many is some? Some astronomers have even created fake images to showcase their creative skills, such as combining multiple images to create a stunning visual representation of a celestial event or phenomenon. So again, not showing you video or images of an actual celestial phenomenon, but creating fake images, combining multiple images to create a representation. In one instance, a scientist created a fake astronomy picture of the day, APOD mosaic, featuring 225 images with only one being real. The goal was to challenge people to find the authentic image. Now, see, again, the issue is when they release things like this, when people in positions of power do things like this, do they let you know this latter part right here from the beginning when they release it? Or is it only after people with a discerning spirit kind of call something like this out? Is your spouse only honest with you after you find proof of something that you feel that they're being dishonest about? You see where I'm going with this? Like, to be real, man, my point isn't to upset anybody, anything like that. It's just simple questions that I've asked for over a decade myself personally, right? And that I've asked people that at a certain point in time I used to consider smarter than myself, right? But once I started doing certain research, once I started going off of the information that they would give me, it's one thing when you can be man or woman enough to say, I don't know something, right? When you can be honest enough, human enough to say, I don't know something. How often do you see the people in power, or hear rather the people in power say, hey man, I don't know, from the beginning, not getting caught on the back end? Because again, those are two different things, right? That's not the same thing. Is blatantly lying by omission, is that still considered a lie? Do you consider that a lie? For somebody to leave something out? Your family, your significant other. You find out in your mid-40s that you were adopted, and there's family and family friends that knew. There's people around you your age that knew before you did. How would that affect you? You feel me? It's weird when I just type in ISS space debris. Give me a good photo. Give me one good photo, right? What do you all see here? Do you see how it's all cartoons, fam? This is a cartoon. It's just weird, man. This person on Twitter said this is the greatest community notes fail ever. Pretty sure that's what we've been saying for years. What is he talking about, right? The community notes posted here under this video and this post, the community note says these are not satellites, but balloons. This person is saying that's what we've been saying for years. What does he mean by that? The original post says sometimes images end up leaking. One satellite films another satellite. But what is this above these satellites? And why does the horizon seem so, I can't say that, but then they're asking, what's your opinion, right? Community notes posted under that, hey, these are not satellites, these are balloons. This guy's laughing, saying we've been telling y'all they're balloons. I don't know. Let's look a little bit further into it, right? All right, so boom, the original post, right? Now, what some people argue is that what you're seeing right here, this thing with a balloon attached to it, a hot air balloon attached to it, right? This is a portion of where your internet comes from, your GPS, that type of thing, and not even to a large degree, right? The argument that some people make online is that this is kind of used more as a surveillance aspect. But again, the ultimate point being that these things are up here in what they would call LEO, low Earth orbit, not far off into space where it's dark, where they're completely unseen, but kind of high enough up in the atmosphere, right? Where typically you won't be able to see them, especially if there's kind of the odd foggy cloud cover that you see going on. I want you to take a look off into the horizon as well when you look at this video here. And keeping in mind the games that can be played when you know how audio-visual production works, when you know how different camera lenses affect the optics of things, and how using something like a curved camera lens, a fisheye camera lens, could affect the optics of, you know, curving this highlighted area that seems to be the horizon or the edge of the atmosphere, right? So again, we're looking at this video, but ultimately the point that we're looking at is that some people are under the assumption that these are what most people call satellites. And here you have the good old community notes letting people know, no, these aren't satellites, because you got to read it in that voice 9 times out of 10, right? These aren't satellites, they're balloons. Well, what kind of balloons are they? And where are the pictures of the satellites from space? Just like how we were looking for pictures of space junk a minute ago, right? You would think every once in a while, one satellite would take a picture of another satellite, right? And we'd be able to find that online somewhere. If we do a little bit more digging, all right, now we just had to throw this in too, right? This person here says, I'm just going to leave this right here. It says, who is the biggest consumer of helium in the world? NASA. The biggest consumer of helium is NASA, using annually almost 75 million cubic feet. You tell me what they use that for. And again, this is another picture that may or may not be related to the last video we just took a look at, allegedly. Moving right along, right? Just to play the other side's advocate for a second, right? Now, these are the games that get played with community notes. They want you to feel, X wants you to feel that the community notes are there to help you. So they want you to feel that they're taking your thoughts into consideration. For all you know, they show this community note to everybody that looks at this post. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Like, how would you know something like that, right? We look at this community note. I would almost reason that most people, I think, that see something like this pop up under a post of something they're not as familiar with as something like Meg Thee Stallion booty shaking or Sexy Red doing the goofy dances she does, right? You're typically more familiar with that type of thing than what an actual satellite is and what these people are laughing about as far as satellites and hot air balloons and helium, right? And how that's all connected. Community notes got your back, though. That's all you're supposed to take from this. Community notes got your back. You're supposed to let them know, do you find this helpful? And that's supposed to actually be meaningful. You take that how you may. That's just a quick breakdown from my non-Twitter users, you know. But again, we take everything with a grain of salt. You never know other people's intentions at the end of the day. I wanted to just show this guy right here. This person says, you guys are on another level. The community note says they are balloons and not satellites. And you say this is aligned with your theory, not mine, the original poster up top. He's saying it's aligned with your theory that satellites in orbit do not exist. No, it is merely stating that the photos are of balloons, but not denying that satellites exist. And that's reasonable. This person, for the most part, is being reasonable. And the reason that I show that is because I'm a reasonable individual. So when I see things like this, you have to understand, I went through the same schooling that a majority of any of you watching this went through. So I had the same understanding taught to me that you probably did about what satellites, what they are, what they do, what they're made of, right? Let me pose a different question to you. Related, but different question. Satellites exist, and not even just in the country that you're listening from. Multiple different countries have their own satellites, even commercial companies, like non-government related satellites at this point, right? 2024, high technology age, right? Can any of you all explain to me why any country would be using a lower altitude reconnaissance aircraft in any sort of wartime scenario in the current day and age? Something that could get shot down, something that could cause an international conflict. Why would anybody use that if there were satellites available above that you can't see, that you can't do anything to? Make that make sense, right? This was another interesting video, and this one shows a curve. This is you know, this is an official video, right? You can see from up here all the way down to the ground, right? So you would assume something like a high-powered camera, a high-powered Nikon or something, it would be able to zoom all the way up here, right? But aside from that, I want to ask you also, where are the planes? Where's the space debris? Where are the stars at? Right? I mean, it's a cool video. I just want you to peep the background. Peep the background. This was funny too. This dude right here says, Chinese space agency doesn't even bother to add curvature. And that's crazy. This is from 2022. 2023. Look at that. They too funny. All right, so right here, we're going to take a look at this video about the International Space Station. And of course, just like they put up top here, you know, entertainment purpose only, of course, you know, funny story, right?
This guy's doing a flip right here, and the guy next to him just reaches up and grabs a harness that's right on his hip.
I gotta pause it real quick. I'm gonna pause it because the funniest part to me, well, there's several funny parts by the way, but the lady in the background with the hair, it's like, did someone not think that like we've got to make her hair look like that, right? It's got to be standing up, dude. It's as hard as a rock. It's not moving. You know, it's like. We must be in space. Look at her hair. Like, obviously, there's this thing called hairspray. So here goes this guy doing a backflip, and
gravity just gravity goes away. He must have found a pocket.
Gravity goes away, and he fell.
Yeah.
Or he got caught up in that harness he's wearing.
See, that's Europe.
In the background.
Yeah.
Holy hell.
And it's obviously
there's an arrow.
Guy filming with a green tennis ball in front of a blue screen.
Right. Clearly, I mean, it's not.
This right here, this is a major giveaway. This is filmmaker stuff that the average person, you may miss something like this and it's reasonable. But when you listen to the person in your life, your loved one, your family member that may have gone to school and paid thousands of dollars for a degree in audio visual, in filmmaking, anything like that, right? They have good information to add to this argument, and they shouldn't be blocked or ostracized for tangible arguments that they can make.
There's this water particle. Yeah.
Wow. This guy just disappears like, oh, yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, I'm good to go. Hey, I gotta go. Yeah, we got back there another green screen.
And this guy,
the ones where they're doing the, he's hanging his shirt, like you can see, like,
it's not even.
You can clearly see the harness. It's like if you take your hands right now and you grab your shirt and you just pull out.
Yeah.
Like it's. Yeah. This one's my favorite right here. The guy goes to reach for.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a doofus.
But what's their thing at the end? I think this guy's always in it, man. He's the biggest clown.
There's so much video of this, and that's the crazy part, is that you don't know about a lot of this unless you go looking for it. So it sounds very foreign, right?
We have to. We gotta expand.
So I imagine this guy in the green that's doing this flip.
But forget what I'm talking about. Use your own eyes and your brain.
Every flip you can never tell, right? So he's like the practice king of flips. But then whenever they go to film it, he gets nervous and he spoofs it up and grabs his harness because he is the most.
He's Ray Finkel.
Yeah, terrible, man.
Push it that way. I'm
Unbelievable.
Not bad, huh?
Where'd you get the $60 million a day to pull that off?
Cryptocurrency. I've been saving. Oh.
Oh, he isn't back. Oh,
I'm back.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Not bad, huh?
That reminds me of the brushing your teeth one where everything goes in slow mo, except for the environment. Did you see that
Exactly.
one?
Yes, I did. That was so awesome.
That was hilarious.
That was hilarious. What another complete wow.
This was another interesting picture on Twitter, right? All pictures of Earth are cartoons, and it's worth a 2-minute Google search. Such different pictures, different color, different contrast, right? And it's an uninspired, lazy excuse of an argument to just say things like, oh yeah, we didn't have good cameras back then. Simultaneously, we didn't have good cameras back then, but we had all this other technology to be able to propel human beings to the moon, right? And then get a phone call from a landline. President Nixon, right? We had the technology to do all of that, and then you get rid of it. It's kind of like it's old audio rather, on YouTube of some comedians that used to do a radio show, right? Comedian named Patrice O'Neal used to be one of my favorite comedians back in the day. Patrice O'Neal, black dude from Boston, and he was on this radio show with these other what you would call white gentlemen, right? And it was a lot of race related. There was a lot of stuff you can't really say today. But there was also a lot of call-ins, and there was also a lot of topics covered when they would do this radio show together. That was just things that, I don't know, it was super insightful, and especially having people from such wildly different backgrounds being able to speak on it, and as well as having a call-in. But I remember there's an episode, and I may do a deeper dive on this episode or this show at a later date. There's an episode, I believe that the title of it is called Flushing Bin Laden Down the Toilet. Flushing Bin Laden Down the Toilet. And some of you, just by hearing a title like that, you kind of have an idea of what that's about, right? And this is a comedy radio show from the early 2000s, from when Barack Obama was president and the news came out that Osama bin Laden had been unalived by the good guys, right? And this radio show just takes a comedic look at the fact that such a bad guy, a person that did such bad things, right? Why were there, just no pictures ever taken?
In cahoots with them a long time. I think he was getting sick. I think they needed a war. And I think that they set him up in this compound, okay, and let him live his last days out being the face of evil. Mm-hmm. I think he died somewhere, because who's to prove that he wasn't? They fucking caught him and threw him in the ocean, like I said, like how you would flush cocaine down the toilet when the cops kick in your fucking door.
We needed that terrorist, Karen!
Karen! How could you flush Bin Laden?
They wouldn't have found him! We needed that terrorist!
I'm sorry! Do you understand?
The only bad guy we had.
What I'm saying, this is all conjecture, but I'm saying what I believe.
So it was just time to tell the world that he was dead.
It was time.
They just flushed him down the toilet, right? Get rid of the evidence. So yeah, I don't know. That was, I apologize for the tangent, y'all. It's just so many discrepancies that I happen to see, and then so many similarities between where the discrepancies are, right? You look at nature, like just the plant kingdom. It's not a whole lot of discrepancies, fam. You really be hard pressed to find like more than one or two. And then when you start looking into those things, you see how much they've been manipulated by man, right? It starts to make a lot more sense when you look at things. It starts to make a lot more sense when you look at things on paper. The ultimate point is for you to see what I've seen and come to your own conclusion. Ask yourself, a year from now, 2 years from now, you know, we still here. Ask yourself why, when you go back to look at some of this information, that if this is your first time seeing it, you know, I appreciate you. You know, I appreciate you rocking this long into the video, but ask yourself, a year from now, 2 years from now, when this information is no longer available, you know, why was it taken down? It ain't gonna be me taking it down. We just jumped on TikTok, right? Got a couple videos up on there, you know, plausible deniability show. Third video up, and it gets smacked down, you know, and this is it's a personal video. You know, I took a couple minutes trying to put this together. I filmed this with my own 2 hands, you know. I put blood, sweat, and tears into this, you know, so I feel a certain type of way. The censorship is kind of getting out of hand. So I say all that to say, I appreciate anybody who's still here checking out this information. You know, if you disagree with it, I'm here. Let me know if you have conflicting proof, you know. Don't just give me your opinion, you know, but come with some conflicting, because when I see things like this about, you know, again, straight from the horse's mouth from NASA, this is kind of how I form my opinions, right?
I'm here to share with you 44 different documents from the governments whereby they admit the Earth is flat. Documents from the CIA, USSR, U.S. Army, NASA, Federal Aviation Administration.
Now you can see this link right here in the middle.
Navy, National Imagery and Mapping Agency, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, and the U.S. Marine Corps, which includes state-owned universities such as UCLA, Penn State, and Shenyang Aerospace University. Government admits flat Earth document number 1, put out by the CIA, whereby it looks like they stole it from the USSR, and this document was created in 1957. And you'll notice that in the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see the title of the document, the author, if there is one cited, unless there's a ton of them, and I'm not going to list them all. And then you have the URL of this document, so if you want to go download it yourself, you're able to. And when I go through these documents themselves, you'll see on the bottom right-hand corner is the page number where you can find these phrases and words cited. So beginning with page 19 of 100 for this dissertation, there's the brightness of the firmament. The firmament is a biblical term which is mentioned in Genesis chapter 1 8 different times, and beginning with verse 6.
Why is this NASA document talking about the firmament, something that's in the Bible? This is, again, the only point of me playing this and bringing this up is more pattern recognition, right? Patterns that all ultimately do trace back to the Bible.
And the firmament was made to divide and separate the waters from above from below, as well as the sun, moon, and stars are placed within the firmament. So page 31, flat Earth. Page 35,
United States. What does that say? What does that seal say?
Flat Earth, document number 5. This one is from United States Army, titled Adding Liquid Payloads Effects to the 6DOF Trajectory of Spinning Projectiles. Let's see what it has to say. On page 7, it says, assume a flat Earth. These equations assume a flat Earth. Government admits flat Earth, document number 6. This is put out by the United States Army. In fact, it's the same author as document number 5, Gene R. Cooper. And in fact, the title is almost eerily the same. Though what we'll find is that he didn't make any corrections for assuming a flat Earth. But let's read the title. Trajectory Prediction of Spin-Stabilized Projectiles with a Steady Liquid Payload. What does it say? Page 10. It says, these equations assume a flat Earth. Why would you assume a flat Earth if you're on a spinning ball? Government admits flat Earth, document number 7, put out by NASA in August of 1988. Derivation and definition of a linear aircraft model. What does it have to say? Let's see here. Well, starting with page 6, it says, this report details the development of the linear model of a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. It goes on to say on this same page, by defining the initial conditions of the nominal trajectory for straight and level flight and setting the asymmetric aerodynamic and inertia terms to 0, one can easily obtain the more traditional linear models from the linear model derived in this report. On page 35, it says this report derives and defines a set of linearized system matrices for a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying in a stationary atmosphere over a flat, non-rotating Earth.
Flat, non-rotating Earth. You know, and again, this is a 30-minute video. I'm not going to click through this whole thing. I'm probably just going to link this, somewhere, wherever you're watching this at. And again, if you made it this far into the video, much love. Shout out to y'all. We're going to check out a couple more things, and then we might just shut it down for this one and come back to this. This is crazy. You can check this out. I'll be sure to link this somewhere where you all can get to this, because again, the information is available, and this may be, a poor copy of this video, kind of grainy, but you can clearly flight area is the space above ground level where the rotation of Earth and the curvy motion of mass center of Earth are neglected. That's weird, fam. So I don't know. I think we're going to take a look at a couple more things, though.
Here's a simple challenge. Search for a real image of Earth from outer space. You will learn something that you have never learned before. If you went to the movie theater back in 1927, this is what you saw in the beginning of every movie. However, it wasn't until 1946 when scientists launched a V-2 missile with the camera on it, which took the very first shots of Earth from space.
Radio command link.
Roger.
Actually, it's a link along that tether line. You see there, 25 feet of umbilical cord. That contains the life support system and communications link from the spacecraft life support system out through that chest pack.
Scariest. It didn't happen. It could have been scary.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. That's my question. I want to know, but I think I know. Because we didn't go there, and that's the way it happened.
I remember my parents waking me up, and we went down and we watched you guys land on the moon,
No,
which
you
was...
didn't. No, you didn't.
What?
Because there wasn't any television. There wasn't anybody taking a picture. You watched animation. See, you associated what you saw with...
I have very hazy memories.
I know.
It didn't happen.
We didn't go there, and...
You guys land on the moon,
No,
which
you
was...
didn't. No, you didn't. You watched animation.
All right, so real quick, I wanted to just show a few more things on here. This person, Swim, right? Swim, SWIM. Swim, someone who isn't me, right? Swim says, harpsichord is now much more than just an ionospheric energy charging facility constructed 30 years ago in Alaska. Swim says, harpsichord is now much more than just an ionospheric energy charging facility constructed 30 years ago in Alaska. It now has global capability with locations not only in numerous countries, but also situated at sea. Community notes will try and tell you this is military blah blah tech. And let's take a look.
So there are 45,000 transmit receive modules, and this antenna can detect an object the size of a baseball at a range of 2,500 miles. That is why I say this thing can project all that power into a pinpoint beam, totally computer controlled. The dome is 120 foot diameter. The power source.
And this is all completely alleged. This is all somebody else's opinion. So whoever this person is.
And this HARP platform has a tow ship to move it around. So that 22 megawatts is not actually designed to go into the engines. That is designed to go into the transmitter unit. Other U.S. Navy ships have powerful microwave transmitters. This is the U.S. Navy ship Howard O. Lorenzen. It looks small, but it's actually 534 feet long. Each phased array, the boxes on the top of the deck, is a phased array transmitter. Synthetic aperture radar, whatever you want to call it, weighs 250 tons.
And again, when you look at things like this, you can Google the words that you don't know, right?
Ionospheric heater again.
It'll start to make sense after you start, again, just using I have a 45-year-old dictionary on my desk right here where I'm recording at, right? So sometimes, I come across things and I won't fully understand it on my first listen or on my first viewing, right? I pull out my handy dandy dictionary. I used to just Google things for the definition of it, right? And then I started noticing that words that I had known the definition of, that I would stumble across the definition of them on Google, it would be a completely different, sometimes even opposite, conflicting definition than what I remember from before. So that's why I keep a physical dictionary around just to do further research. But yeah, I thought this was a little bit interesting, the foolishness that this guy was talking about here. Now, this is something else that's pretty weird to look at. And again, everything that you're seeing right here, you take with a grain of salt. This is obviously something that a foolish person made and is, you know, trying to show just in a cartoony, satirical way, right? So I believe what they're trying to convey with this video is a cartoon of like what they've seen through their own microscope or telescope or anything of that nature, right? As opposed to taking, you know, what you see in movies and that type of thing. So just thought that was kind of cool, you know. It's really cool using different technology, different hardware, things like, again, a microscope and going to get some of the food that you love to eat from the store, things that you've eaten your entire life, that type of thing. And just taking a small piece and putting it under a microscope and seeing, you know, what happens with it, if it does anything, you know, because why would you expect your food to do anything under a microscope?
And look at, oh, the worm. Look at that guy. He's happy as hell, just cruising around in there. Yep.
Because they have these big venom, huh?
Maybe they'll give me a discount on that one. That's what I'm talking about, though. They're loaded with those parasites. I don't know what they are.
The dupes, no?
Right here. Fresh coho salmon. It must be. It must be fresh. Yeah. I mean, if it's got a live worm in there. When you go for tequila, that shit's dead.
Looking at things, you know, through different certain high-powered cameras, again, extended lenses, you know, kind of doing research on that type of thing. And it, ultimately, point being, using your own two eyes. Again, keep in mind, it's much less about what I'm saying. It's much less about anyone's opinion that you see on the internet. What can you see with your own two eyes, right? This is another odd picture. And again, only reason I'm showing this is so you can take into account the community note that obviously always tells the truth when people online are being dishonest, right?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today I'd like to bring to your attention a potential fraud on an enormous scale happening in York County. There's now clear evidence of NASA using numerous methods to grossly mislead the public about astronauts being on the International Space Station. During interior ISS scenes from NASA's own live feed, the use of wires, harnesses, green screens, and virtual reality have been detected to achieve the appearance of a weightless environment. Examples of this include astronauts fading in and out of the screen, green screen glitches, grabbing objects that aren't really there, pulling on invisible wires, getting tangled in their harnesses, and even astronauts appearing out of thin air. This begs the obvious question. If they're really up there, why are they using Hollywood techniques to fake the footage? Now, unfortunately, I can't show you these clips in here today, but I will be sending them to you. Outside the International Space Station, during spacewalks, air bubbles have been recorded on numerous occasions. How is it possible for air bubbles to be present in the vacuum of space? I once questioned astronaut Scott Kelly about this phenomenon. His body language and answers only created more questions. In 2013, astronaut Luca Parmitano nearly drowned during a spacewalk when his helmet filled with water. This happened again just last year. Air bubbles, helmets filling with water, and drowning. Are they in space or are they underwater? Now, what's really interesting is that they train for spacewalks in an underwater pool with a complete ISS replica. Now, surely they aren't filming these spacewalks in an underwater pool and then editing them to appear if they're in space, because that sure would be something, wouldn't it? I'm calling on the Brevard County Commissioners to open a full investigation into NASA's fraudulent practices and use of taxpayer dollars. It costs NASA $3 billion per year to operate the ISS, and if they don't have a darn good explanation as to why they're faking these videos, I and the public would like a darn good explanation as to where our tax money is going. And if they are indeed faking the funk, it is our duty to expose and eliminate this fraudulent and astronomically wasteful ISS program. And look, I know what you're all thinking. The NASA is part of the federal government, and you're just county commissioners. Even if what I'm saying is true, what can you do? But let me remind you, not only is this happening in your county, as public officials, you have the platform and the ability to make a statement or hold a press conference, alerting the public, state, and federal authorities.
All right, here we have a very serious video that somebody posted. For whatever reason, they're having just a really aggressive laugh in the background. So
I threw so much massage.
I don't know why he's laughing. Look at this thing right here. Oh man. So here we have another official picture, right? And peep the detail. Peep how awesome it is. How real it looks, how cool it looks. What's there, what's not there. That type of thing, right? This person says Earth photographed from the surface of the moon by the last human to visit it so far. Boom. Peep the date. Peep the time. Peep the date. Bookmarks. View count. Like count. It's not easy to get this amount of likes, you know? So this is obviously a great picture. A lot of people saw it. A large amount of those people like this picture for great reason. And then you scroll down a little bit, then you have people posting stuff like this. This person says, the Earth is about 4 times bigger than the moon and would appear 4 times bigger in the sky. This is more nonsense. Alleged. This person says, you win the internet today. This guy, who looks pretty serious, pretty official, he believes in dinosaurs. Person says, is this a parody? Do you know how big Luna looks in the sky? A lot of conflicting opinions, you know. I'm not the one to tell you what's right, what's not. I believe whatever the mainstream narrative is, that's what I go along with. You know, I like to research kooky people, right? Like these people on CBS News, they're going to be saying something kooky here in this clip. And it's almost like you got to just kind of use your own heart with all the information that you take in to kind of see what's real and what's not. It's almost like you got to kind of think about everybody's motive on TV and why do people get paid to say the things that they say.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility
is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities, the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about trouble and trending of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Why do news people get paid to say absolutely tragic, horrific things in the news person voice and then go right along to some other goofy, unrelated stuff without getting into detail of the tragic, of the deep information, of the information that affects you directly, right? Why is that?
Lasers? Really? To change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously...
Really?
Lasers? Really? To change the weather?
That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, but no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a rain dance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. Go ahead.
Now, if you know anything about this gentleman right here, Dr. Michio Kaku, this dude's a freaking genius. This dude is a Neil deGrasse level genius. So if he says it, it's true. So this is him saying this.
To actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring...
Look at this graphic.
Actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down into the sky.
Do y'all see that that's a storage container?
Precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts.
Well, this fascinates me in part because, too, I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create the stories.
Peep the
that
buzzwords.
China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, did those really work then? We have some of these capabilities now?
Inconclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been...
Did y'all hear that? Let me know down in the comment section if you knew that. Chances are anybody watching this, you may have a family member that you care about deeply, right? That served in the military. I got much love for my veterans and my family and my family friends, right? I've been to a lot of VA appointments with people. I've seen how veterans get treated in this country. It's several people that I care deeply about that served in the Vietnam War, right? Let me know if you knew this fun fact about the Vietnam War.
Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War.
Is this the military?
Inclusive. Even in the 60s, the CIA used this to bring down monsoons during the Vietnam War to wash out the Viet Cong. Governments have been playing with this thing.
Alleged to.
Alleged.
Allegedly. You see how to
right now.
Come on, man.
That for decades now, these governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're bringing in the laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands and uttering mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now. And in the laboratory, sure enough, they precipitate rain out of water vapor. Sure enough, you can actually bring down electricity down the beam. Firing trillion-watt lasers, you rip apart the electrons, creating what are called ions, and these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, bringing down rain and even lightning.
There you have it.
We shall propose further cooperative effort between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control and eventually in weather control and eventually in weather control.
Why would somebody say something like that? Why would somebody say something like that? All right, now here we have some very interesting commentary.
Explain why we're not getting to see these images live. The Apollo 11 landing was broadcast live. Why now don't we have the technology to see all of this live?
And we're getting a picture on the TV. You got a good picture, huh?
He's on the moon.
And the second man is on the moon.
Neil Armstrong getting ready to move the TV camera now out to the panorama position.
Okay, as far as distance goes, Neil, and we'll line you up again when you finish the panorama. Tell me if you got a picture, Houston.
I've got a beautiful picture, Neil.
Issues with file transfers. We did have a number of communications glitches. We had either forward or return link problems.
Also, during post in the zero gravity of environment.
Hold on, man. He said they have issues with file transfers, bro.
Issues with file transfers. We did have a number of communications glitches.
They have issues with their PDF files.
Transfers. We did have a number of communications glitches. we had either forward or return link problems.
Also, during post in the zero gravity of environment of space.
It's very difficult to transmit on the fly, if you will, and get that all the way back to Earth.
Struggle to get communications.
Unfortunately, they're going to be in the darkness. They will not be sunlit, so we won't get very good video of them.
At Dark Side of the Moon, boy. All right, now we're going to take a look at this last video. A gentleman right here speaking on what he calls damage control, right? What I'm also going to call pattern recognition of different people who take large portions of your money, sometimes before you even get your hands on it, the money that you work for. Certain groups of those people, they do damage control, and you should be able to recognize the patterns between those groups.
We look at their rockets. This is how they claim they get into outer space, is these rockets. Their rockets never go straight up. Every single rocket launch from a government space agency, you'll notice, follows a parabolic curve. It goes up, it reaches a peak, but what they do is as the rocket starts coming back down, they make sure that it goes down over the ocean, out of the way of any...
They also make sure that you will never see an entire launch start to finish in one shot. It will always be edited to show different angles until it disappears over the horizon, like this person is saying. And that's just a fact. You should Google why these people do that. You should Google why don't they just attach a camera to the back of any random shuttle launch that goes actually out of the atmosphere of Earth? Why don't they just attach a camera and live stream? I Googled that myself one time, and the answer that I got back was that I'm too dumb to understand all the calculations that goes into the weight of something being launched into space, and they don't have room for frivolous, dumb stuff like a camera to live stream and shut somebody like the creator of this video up. Because again, if you just live stream nonstop a shuttle going from here, not into low Earth orbit, but outer space, like let's say docking with the International Space Station, that would shut a lot of these theorists up. I'm sick of these theorists too, myself, right? So you want to shut them up. You want to, I don't know. I think when you got SpaceX shooting Teslas, shooting cars up in space, allegedly, in their shuttles, why not just attach a camera? Little mini GoPro, right?
Pictures from space. Elon Musk pulls off an engineering feat. He sent his own kind of rocket man on board a Tesla Roadster into orbit. Elon Musk has outdone himself this time.
But this isn't a publicity stunt involving just a car in space. Let's start with the science. This afternoon, SpaceX launched the world's most powerful rocket, and it's a major milestone for the company. And this is a live look at what's happening right now in space. That's Elon Musk's own Tesla convertible in orbit. The driver is a mannequin he's calling Starman.
27 rocket engines fired at once, sending the Falcon Heavy into space, and the SpaceX crew into applause.
Well, if you could hear all that cheering, it was an outstanding test flight of the Falcon Heavy.
The mega rocket combines the power of 3 SpaceX rockets into one, generating over 5 million pounds of thrust, enough to launch a 737.
A very big step forward. We hadn't seen a rocket this powerful since the space shuttle retired back in 2011.
SpaceX founder and CEO Elon Musk spoke with CBS space analyst Bill Harwood Monday at the launch pad.
Why does the country need this rocket?
I think this rocket's great for a lot of reasons. It's something that I think inspires the public. You could actually send people back to the moon with the Falcon Heavy, with the orbital refueling, send people to Mars.
The payload on this test launch is Musk's Midnight Cherry Tesla Roadster, with a dummy named Starman. It's headed for an elliptical orbit around the sun that extends as far out as Mars, and it could remain in orbit for hundreds of millions of years.
Stop the cap! Curious observers, as the rocket starts coming back down, they make sure that it goes down over the ocean, out of the way of any curious observers. Anyone can see it coming back down to Earth asks, hey, how come the rocket's not going up anymore? Well, it's going around the curvature of the Earth, is what they tell us. So every single rocket, the reason that it follows a parabolic curve, they say, is because it's going around the curvature of the Earth. The real reason is they can't get up any higher than that.
Pattern recognition.
They tell us that the Earth is a sphere. They show.
I also want to throw out something interesting that a friend of mine, just an interesting thought. Recently, there's been a lot of news reports about these super rich, what they call elites, right? I call undisciplined but these super wealthy, undisciplined people, right? It's been a lot of reports recently. I think even Rick Ross was one of them. A bunch of different politicians, super wealthy people, highest of the top of the people running stuff, saying that they're all building bunkers. Everybody's building bunkers underground, $6 million bunkers. I think your boy Zuckerberg was another one. Your boy Zuck, you know, building these bunkers underground. I have a question. With all the pop culture stuff, with all the Marvel movies that you've watched, I'm sure a bunch of you watching this video, you probably currently are or at one point were an Iron Man fan, right? Iron Man or Incredible Hulk, something like that. But your boy Tony Stark, Elon Musk was in the Iron Man movie. It's the biggest crossover ever. Elon Musk, air quotes, allegedly, right, has a space company in real life. Why wouldn't these people just go to space? The top of the top. The people that own the space companies. Why wouldn't they just leave? If something so bad is about to happen that they need a bunker underground, that it's going to be that bad above ground where you live at, you, the person listening to this, with the family that you got to be responsible for, something so bad is going to happen, you're going to wish you was underground. Why not just leave? Why not just go to Mars? Right? I mean, they got rovers and stuff up there, right? They already have infrastructure up there, right? They got infrastructure on the moon. They have infrastructure on the moon. Why not just go there?
Us pictures of a sphere, of a circle. It's a perfect circle. And then they come out and they say, well, it's actually an oblate spheroid. Oh, what's that? Well, it's a sphere that's flattened at both poles, so it's more of an oval shape. It actually bulges out south of the equator, as well as being flattened at the poles. So it's more pear-shaped.
So it's not actually...
It's those actuallys.
Then they come out and...
The actually is when the theory, the hypothesis that these people gave you. It's not me. It's not this guy saying, hey, I have it all figured out. I'm letting you know this is how it works and you got to believe me. That's what these people say. That's not what I'm saying. I don't have it all figured out. That's part of why we're looking at this video, getting different opinions. I don't know what the truth is. It seems like the maker of this video is saying that these people happen to know the truth, and instead of telling other people the truth, are possibly hiding it and telling people the opposite of truth. And how would you get somebody to believe something that's the opposite of what you know is the truth? You make it sound good. You make it look good. You make it look pretty.
They say, well, it's actually an oblate spheroid. Oh, it's a picture.
You say, well, actually, it's something that you wouldn't understand.
They tell us that the Earth is a sphere. They show us pictures of a sphere, of a circle. It's a perfect circle. And then they come out and they say, well, it's actually an oblate spheroid. Oh, what's that? Well,
it's actually this new word that I just made up.
It's a sphere that's flattened at both poles, so it's more of an oval shape. It actually bulges out south of the equator, as well as being flattened at the poles. So it's more pear-shaped.
So it's not actually a sphere. It's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator. A little chubbier. A little chubbier. Yeah. Chubby's a good word. It's like pear-shaped.
So now it's pear-shaped. So why are all of these official NASA photos and videos showing perfect spheres when it's actually an oblate spheroid or a pear-shaped spheroid? They can't get their story straight. The reason they keep changing it is that to fit the model, they have to change the shape of the Earth. South of the equator is larger than north of the equator because lines of longitude that just extend outwards, they don't contract back. So they concede that in their pear model. They say, well, the side bulges out south of the equator. It's bigger south of the equator. Yeah, it is, because it's flat. But instead of admitting that, they just, make tweaks to their model.
Instead of admitting something, they go, actually, you wouldn't understand it because it's this new thing that I just made up. So how would you be able to research it? Because I just made it up.
Contract back. So they concede that in their pear model. They say, well, the side bulges out south of the equator. It's bigger south of the equator. Yeah, it is, because it's flat. But instead of admitting that, they just, make tweaks to their model as time goes on. They say that the ball Earth tilts back 23.5 degrees. That's another tweak they made because we can see Polaris, which is right over the North Pole, from 23.5 degrees south latitude. Shouldn't be able to see that on a ball. So they just tilt the Earth back and then okay, now you can see it. And so they come up with explanations in reverse like this. Damage control, reverse engineered explanations.
Damage control, fam. That's the name of the game. All right, man. We've reached the end. I know this was a bit of a longer one. If you made it to the end of this video, like I always say, but definitely this time, much love. Shout out to you. I appreciate you. If you like the content, as always, go ahead, like the content, hit that like button for me. Share the content with people that you feel like agree, with people that may disagree, with people that would like to have a good detailed conversation about why they may agree or disagree. We can always jump down in the comment section, you know. Definitely looking to produce some more similar content to this, kind of looking at both sides of different major issues that, you know, they may or may not affect you directly. Anything that you want to see in the near future, go ahead, let me know down in the comments. We're going to be right back in about a week or so with another video on some current events, some more hip-hop stuff that's going on, you know. But in the meantime, yeah, shout out to y'all. Facebook, YouTube, Patreon, Instagram, Spotify. We're going to be back in the next video. Plausible Deniability. I'm out.